Take you to Venezuela. An American freelance journalist, Cody Weddle, has been detained by the Maduro regime. And now this, the German ambassador, he greeted the interim president, Juan Guaido, at the airport on Monday. He's now kicked out of the country. Guaido is ratcheting up the pressure. He's talking to government worker unions. They're going to do a slow rollout of a public union government worker strike. Now, there's word that the oil workers were in on these meetings, but the oil workers could still go to PDVSA because they do not want to shut the entire country down. It would be too harmful for the Guaido basically team to do that. Now, if this happens, this would strike at the heart of Maduro's regime. Let's bring in the former Deputy Secretary of Defense, and he's an intelligence expert. He's retired General Jerry Boykin. General, your take on what's going on here?
Yeah, well, with regards to the German ambassador there, I tell you, I think that Maduro is pushing the limits as to, how far he's going to be able to go in the international community. I think he's asking for more isolation by other countries in the world that haven't yet taken a side in this, at least not ostensibly. And this, we need to remember, when you start grabbing Americans, particularly American journalists, you are inviting the worst case for you, and that is military action by the United States, just like George W. Bush did in Panama and Ronald Reagan did in the island of Grenada back in 1983. Ultimately, it was all about protecting the Americans and rescuing those that had been taken. That's
a good point. General, what message is Maduro sending? And the second question I want answered here, where is the outrage here in the United States over that journalist being seized?
Yeah, what is he doing? Obviously, this guy has been a thorn in his side. And I'm not sure, this is one of those situations where you're really not sure that Maduro even knew what was going to happen there, but he does by now, and he could have ordered his release. So I just don't know what that's all about.
They're going to have days of strikes. That's what Guaido is planning in Venezuela. How do you think Maduro is going to respond to government workers walking off of the job?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think that, number one, I don't think the oil workers are going to be inclined to do that for the reasons that you already articulated. But I think the second thing is, I think Maduro will come down hard on them. I think that, first of all, the lower case is that they'll all be fired. But I think the worst case is that he'll actually go after them. He'll send his military and his police after some of these government workers to make an example of them and to send a message to the broader audience there and among the people in Venezuela.
So that would be a dangerous choice, to threaten the government workers with locking them up or worse, right?
Absolutely. And look, again, I think that this thing is coming to a head. But Liz, let me say this: I hope and pray that Maduro isn't long for that job. But that said, remember that Bashar al-Assad has been in power several years since his demise was imminent, because he has the support of the Russians as well as the Iranians. Well, Maduro has the Russians and the Iranians, but he also has China behind him, and they're propping him up. They're keeping him solvent, and he could stay for much longer than we would want him to, obviously.
And there is an issue, though, to your point, and it's a good one you just made, General, that Venezuela's debt, we're just finding now, is explosively out of control. It is about 8 times the exports of that country. This model is totally unsustainable. The Maduro socialist model is just flat out collapsing.
That's right. And let me add something to what you just said. We keep calling this a socialist model, a socialist movement. We need to start articulating this as being a Marxist movement there. Maduro has become a Marxist dictator, and what you see now is him following the Marxist model, where you start to shut down the media, you do all you can to force the elements within that society that are dangerous to stand on the sideline.
General Boykin, great points there. We appreciate your perspective. Thanks for coming in, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be with you, Liz.